Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meyer. The U.S. and China wrapped up high-stakes trade talks in Geneva, Switzerland. The talks lasted several hours on Saturday and spilled over to Sunday. The White House is announcing a deal, but details remain scarce. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying a complete briefing will be held Monday. Speculation is rife on what's in the deal and what happened during the talks. Joining us now to explore are two guests, Daniel Lacalle, chief economist at Tressis and author of Freedom or Equality, and Adam Savitt, director of the China Policy Initiative at the America First Policy Institute. Thank you both so much for being here. Daniel, starting with you, the White House saying the two sides struck a trade deal following marathon talks in Geneva without providing details. Treasury Secretary Bessent saying there will be a complete briefing Monday. What can we expect in a trade deal? What areas are you looking out for?
I think that it's a very important thing because it's been very fast. And therefore, what we could expect is something similar to what we saw with the UK-US trade deal, i.e. a ballpark agreement of basic elements that would entail agriculture, also some manufactured goods, certainly the automotive industry, the technology industry, and lifting non-trade barriers from the side of China. So I would guess that those would be the main elements, but obviously we'll get the details tomorrow. I don't think that there would be many more initially, and those would lead to subsequent agreements afterwards.
And Adam, President Trump said before this weekend's meeting that imprisoned Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai would be brought up in the talks. How likely do you think the U.S. side leveraged trade talks to press issues like human rights and fentanyl to strike a deal?
Let me first say it's incredibly important that President Trump recognized Jimmy Lai and human rights in general as an important point to raise. I believe they did probably raise it, but I don't believe it factored into the final deal. And that's because to properly address those questions, the CCP would have to radically change the way they do business within their own country. Their restrictions on free speech and expression in Hong Kong, their treatment of the Uyghurs in Xinjiang, which involves hundreds of thousands of people involved in slave labor. And I believe that President Trump has the right idea with fentanyl, for example. He was very clear that that 10% and then 20% was separate from the main tariffs. And China has recognized that as well, because their reciprocal tariff is 125%, not the 145% on our side that includes the fentanyl. So I'm glad it was brought up, but I don't think it was key to this agreement.
And zooming out a bit here, Daniel, what do you make of the length of time of these talks, over 10 hours on Saturday, and then they continue today to achieve what Bessent is calling substantial progress, and the White House fact sheet is calling a deal?
Well, I think that the reason why we have seen such a quick and I would say that detailed process is because the situation for China was getting very, very challenging after the UK deal. We must remember that the UK-US trade deal cemented a position for the United Kingdom in terms of the supply chains that would compromise a lot of the elements that help China maintain a very strong exporting position. And at the same time, we saw that exports to the United States from China fell by a fifth in April. All those elements added to the deflationary spiral that China is suffering have probably made the Chinese delegation be very diligent about reaching something that could be presented as something that is positive for everybody and that immediately lifts the challenges for the exporters, for ports, and also for the freight carriers. The Trump administration is not just going to reach a deal and let it pass without a very strict compliance. I think that this is all going to be about delivering and strengthening that deal. Same with the UK. If you think about the way that these deals have been signed, is to start with very significant things that can be monitored very, very quickly. And second, to continue adding elements that include all of those factors that prior have created some tension. In the case of the UK, it was the non-tariff barriers. The UK increased its non-tariff barriers dramatically since 2017. And also, in the case of China, compliance with these measures is very important. The Trump administration has already presented three elements that they're going to be working with. Number one is that the entire analysis of the goods that come and go from the United States is going to be looked at from one single agency. Number two is that we will get a very specific analysis of when any company is implementing measures of, for example, washing the origin. Origin washing is one of the challenges, as my colleague was mentioning. And number three, punitive measures if there's no compliance. I think that all those three things will be there in some shape or form.
Daniel, as you mentioned, of course, last week, the U.S. and U.K. struck a deal. Markets buoyed a little bit at the news, but all eyes were on the trade talks with China. How do you expect markets to react at the news of a U.S.-China deal?
Oh, everybody was very, very concerned about the difficulty of a Chinese trade deal. So this is very, very important, and it's likely to be a positive surprise. Futures are already indicating that markets are going to react positively, but it's likely to be also what people perceive from the details, no? So in general, the entire market was already accepting the idea that there would be trade deals with Japan, with South Korea, maybe with the European Union as well, probably more challenging. And the one that seemed almost impossible was the Chinese one. So the fact that it's the second is something that is very, very important.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, leave your comments below, and keep defending freedom. Thank you very much.